Hey everybody, we're the Tri-State Sports Guys. I'm Mo. This is Mike. Coming to you behind the glass.
Hola.
Mike T behind the ones and twos. Top of K-Radio Studios here in Norwalk. Back from our Thanksgiving.
It's good to be back.
You just got back.
I literally just got back off the airplane.
Mike takes like a 4-week vacation for Thanksgiving.
I think I earned it all.
You did.
I think I earned it. Busted my ass in this show.
You've done a great job. Let's get into the Jets right away.
Let's do it.
Jets, Bills.
Since our last show, they've played twice.
Yeah, they lost.
I don't remember how they did against
They lost to your boy
Broncos.
Tebow. I mean, he is, I don't care what you say, we'll get into him very quickly. He is magical. The guy, you can't convince me that he doesn't have God on his
I
side.
will tell you this, I was just down in northern Florida visiting
Tebow
my
country.
parents, and oh my God, did they love Team Tebow. My dad is like, who's the story? You don't follow college football. He's like, everywhere you go, they got the Tebow.
All he does is win. You gotta
Broncos.
give-
He goes, they got a lot of Broncos fans down here.
All he does is win. You got to give him credit.
You gotta love him, man.
And the opposite of winning are the Buffalo Bills. Lucky for the Jets, they played them.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to tell you, Tone, Mike is we all know he's the biggest homer. He tries to spin everything. I've never seen a man this depressed after a Jet win. And Mike, he actually wasn't happy, which is something you never see from him.
Right, because I'm always like, I
He
don't
always
care
like, I'll
about
take the win, Rex Ryan, everyone's down, I'm Mark Sanchez, blah, blah, blah.
Well, I predicted the loss against the Broncos.
You did.
I knew that was a bad matchup for him.
You did.
That was right on.
That was right. I knew exactly what was going to happen there. Was there a moment that I didn't think they were going to blow that game. I thought going into this Bills game, this is exactly what they need. They dominated them up in Buffalo just a couple weeks earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm saying to myself, look, there's no way. They got no Fred Jackson. He's really the only guy that's going to scare you. I said Revis is going to lock down Stevie Johnson. And basically, it was the worst game I've ever seen Revis play.
Yeah,
Stevie Johnson embarrassed him.
Stevie Johnson, but you know what it was though? It was he didn't burn him deep.
No,
but
he
he
hit
just
quick off
he
the
would
line.
just quick off the line. He'd be running those comeback patterns, and you normally don't see that. Those are the patterns he's really good at covering because he's so aggressive that he doesn't let somebody catch these little balls in front of him. But they could have done that all day down the field.
It made me wonder what was going on when I saw, especially the touchdown that he caught, that basically Revis has played off him the whole time. So I don't know if maybe he thought Stevie Johnson was just much faster than him.
Or he thought maybe he thought he had a linebacker help inside on that slant.
But it was all the time.
It was
He kept
weird.
backing off.
But how do you do that on that 4-yard line or whatever they were on?
So I wonder what's going to happen now going forward with receivers.
But can we just while we
'Cause
talk
that's
about
two-
Stevie Johnson, can we talk about?
Well-
first of all, his touchdown dance, I thought was hilarious.
Oh, it was great.
It was hilarious. Me and my dad were laughing.
I'll be honest, I didn't think it was that good because I didn't understand it at first.
You didn't understand the shooting in
You
the
didn't see
leg.
my-
I know, I did.
He like stared at his leg and grabbed
And
it.
he grabbed it, and he wouldn't have gotten a penalty, I think, unless he fell to the ground, right?
Yeah.
The rule is you can't. So this idiot did all this stuff. He could have gotten away with all of that.
He got fined.
The part that I didn't understand was, I don't even know if you even caught this, the thing that he was doing before he shot himself,
He was dancing at a nightclub.
and I didn't get
Oh,
that.
yeah,
I didn't know what was
He
going
was
on.
dancing at the
I didn't
club.
understand that he was mocking the dancing, and it's like everyone else caught it but me.
Yeah, I knew right from the beginning.
I didn't know that's what he was
Dancing at the
doing. And I was like, what is he? And then I saw when then he did the whole plane thing, like.
Then he fell down.
But back to Revis for a second,
Yeah.
and we'll get into Stevie Johnson. That's two big receivers in a row that have really played well against Revis.
I didn't think Brandon Marshall was as good as was Stevie Johnson.
Well, he wasn't as good, but he still
Stevie
played
Johnson
well.
caught 5 balls for 50-something yards against them. They threw the ball at his side like 12 times. You know what I mean?
It makes you wonder that maybe people are seeing something there.
It is, but then there's other times when teams just shut down half of the field. Listen, if teams want to attack the Jets' defense by throwing Revis, God bless
go
them.
for it.
I would love for that to happen. And if this maybe opened the door, for it, then God bless them.
What's going on with the Jets defense? Because I think you were talking to me about this. They're not as good for a team that is. I was saying this to you, for a team that is predicated on being this great defensive team and ground and pound and let our defense win games. They're not a good enough defensive team to do that. They're an average NFL defense. They're all right. They have some big plays.
The thing is, I think they don't have big plays. They don't force enough turnovers.
Well, they definitely don't do that.
They don't force any turnovers.
This Aaron Maben thing, and that's got to really kill you.
He had 0 sacks for his career.
But he's got 6 this year or something.
Yeah, but
he's playing really well.
I mean,
He's just be fast.
He's little.
The Bills didn't know that.
But he is. I mean, he's beating guys off the end. He's doing really well. I think there's a few problems with them. I feel like David Harris is taking a step back. I'm like the biggest David Harris fan there is. I don't think he's played well at all. And Bart Scott, David Harris got run over for a first down by Willis McGahee.
A lot of people are criticizing Bart Scott.
Bart Scott is just missing in action. You watch games, he'll blow up a guy when they're not looking, but he doesn't attack a running back. Willis McGahee, he ran him over too. And Willis McGahee should not be running people over, middle linebackers, at this stage of his career. I mean, he really shouldn't be, but both of those guys, he ran them over for first downs, and I think they just disappear. I think that, they seem to, I don't think they do very many things well. It's almost amazing they're 6-5. The only reason it seems like they're having such a disappointing season is because of all the expectations and what they've come, what they've done the last couple of years.
And they've won a few games barely.
They've won a lot of games barely. I mean, think about games that they...
Cowboy game.
Really, you think about the Bills, and you think about the Dolphins, those are the only games where they really... and the Jaguars, they dominated throughout. And those are three clearly not very good teams. But you play any good team, they haven't shown that they done anything.
I'll tell you, I now know, and I think any Jet fan now knows, why Cromartie is no longer a Charger. Because he's terrible. No. He is awful. I don't care how much God-given talent he's got. He is a brutal football player.
Let's get into their special teams.
He should be a lacrosse player.
Westhoff is known as literally like the best special teams coach, one of them of all time, right? And you can't really blame fumbles and muff punts and stuff like that on him. But what I don't understand is, I was at the game, the Pats game with our boy P-Head, a friend of the show.
Yeah.
And he asked me, why is Jim Leonard back catching punts? And I said, Jim Leonard, he never will return a punt, but he catches everything. Yep. He never fumbles, and he gets you 8 yards. And in a game like this, so the very next punt, Joe McKnight was back there, and that was, I told you, probably the biggest point of the game, when Joe McKnight fumbled.
Yep.
What happens this game? They decided to have Cromartie in there, who drops a fair catch. I mean, what's going on?
They said it was because those guys were hurt, right?
But
I heard Rex Ryan say it was because the top two guys were hurt.
Jim Leonard was catching punts for the rest of the game after that.
Well, maybe they just said go.
They started, because I was telling my dad, I'm like, I don't know why Jimmy Leonard, and then the rest of the game, Jim Leonard caught punts.
I don't understand.
I mean, it made no sense.
He's a bad football player, though, regardless of his punt return.
He's a great athlete. You're exactly.
He should be a lacrosse player. He'd be a very good lacrosse player.
He's a great athlete, not a good football player.
And Mark Sanchez is now. I told you that I thought they were booming that time I was.
But they weren't then.
Now I'm convinced they are because they don't. I heard Peter King say it was the worst 4-touchdown game he's ever in the history of the NFL, and it was ugly. And if not for Plaxico's ridiculous catch on third down.
Yeah, but that was, to me, that was a pass, and I said it right away. That was an Eli Manning type pass. It was a good read, one-on-one. It was a ballsy pass.
But it was not a good throw.
It was a perfect throw. There was nowhere else you could put it. If he put it any lower, it would have been broken up. I mean, great, the catch was unbelievable.
I think most receivers don't catch that ball, the Bills win that game.
Yeah, I know, but he couldn't have thrown it any other place.
Maybe.
But here's my thing about Mark Sanchez. Now we could just talk about him. He was horrible, especially early on in that game. Yeah. One of the things that Mark Sanchez has done throughout his career is found ways that everybody talks about him being this Hollywood guy, and they don't like his, he looks like he's down and this and that. He doesn't care. I mean, the fact that he made that pass after having a horrible game, the fact that when they were in field goal range and all they needed was a field goal, he was still going for the end zone there, I wouldn't even want him to throw that ball. I would just say to my dad, what are they doing? He's going to throw a pick here. But he has the balls to go out and do it.
Now, you're right about that, but this year, I saw a stat before that drive, which is obviously the reverse con stat of all time, that he has the worst quarterback rating in the fourth quarter.
It was the worst completion percentage. It was the worst. He has the worst completing 41% of passes.
Yeah, I remember in the fourth quarter, right? Yeah. And then, of course, he leads into a winning drive. But I don't know if he's taking a step back. Some people are defending him. Some people think. I just don't. I think that if he were on a different team, on a very average team, with less, because he's got good wide receiver talent. He's got good talent. He's got Keller.
Yeah.
I think that he would just be a very run-of-the-mill.
But here's the thing, and here's the argument I'll make for him. There's no way to argue that he's having a good season, because he clearly isn't. He's having a very bad. I mean, he's definitely not in the top 15 quarterbacks, maybe not even in the top 20 quarterbacks playing this year. But I don't know how people forget about what he's done. I mean, they show that fourth quarter stat. You know who led the league in game-winning drives last year? Mark Sanchez. So how do you forget about, for the people that say he's a bust, for the people that say they're going to draft a quarterback, you hear that all the time.
I don't think they have to draft a quarterback. But they're stuck with him.
Well, yeah, right. But people are talking about let's draft a quarterback, let's go hard after Peyton Manning. I mean, what he does well is find ways to win. He hasn't done it well this year, per se, but what he's done well, I mean, they never want to give him credit for what he's done in the playoffs. He's got a higher completion percentage, quarterback rating, and more yards per attempt than Eli Manning, Peyton Manning, and Tom Brady.
But I think the view
in the playoffs.
But I think
why do you just talk over that? That's like fantastic.
Well, I'm going to tell you why. Why
the view is what?
That. I think the view is that of his 4 wins.
Right.
People say, well, only one of those games he really had to go out and try and win. Like that maybe his defense was letting him down a little, and the other ones he kind of managed.
Managed to a 95 quarterback rating?
I'm just telling you the view. But
I mean, that's a stupid view. I mean, there's no. How do you back it up with any kind of facts?
That stat talking about Tom Brady, like no one in the world,
Right, but I know because
but it almost shows you that stat would mean nothing because who would want Tom Brady?
Because Tom Brady in the last few years has been terrible in the playoffs. He hasn't been good. They haven't won. When's the last time? Yeah, he hasn't played well. Peyton Manning's the best quarterback of our generation. He hasn't been good. Eli Manning is known for 4 playoff games. That's what he based his whole career on. Mark Sanchez has 6 playoff games where he's played better than Eli did even in that playoff run when they went to the Super Bowl and won. So that's what I'm saying. There's no way to defend that he's having a good season. He's having a bad season. But to say that he's a bust and to say that they should go out and get another quarterback. I mean, how is that? How does a logical person make that?
Well, I think that brings me to my point. I think he's just in the middle, and that's what I'm saying. I think at the end of the day, you're going to look back and say, Mark Sanchez, he's all right. And
you don't think in 5 years he's going to be?
I wouldn't say that he definitively has no shot of being good. But
I don't think he's going to be a Brees or Rodgers.
I could see 5 years from now, you just saying he's a very average quarterback.
What do you think, Tom?
I think in 5 years he could.
I could see him being Ryan Fitzpatrick type. Like sometimes he looks incredible, and then sometimes you're like, yeah, this guy's all right. He's not that great.
That's the way he is now.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
Yeah, exactly. The difference is when you do that when you're young, people just look at the good games and say that's his upside. Yeah. When you do that 5 years from now, it's like that's who you are.
Well, I think we're right, but I think you go you can't accidentally have a playoff record like he has. You can't just fall into 6 games with 2 totally different teams on the road and do that well. So that means that he has it in him. That's what I'm saying. There are some quarterbacks you see in the pros and they just look completely lost. And unless they get a million, you look at DeMarcus Russell, you could watch him over a season and say, this guy's never going to be a good quarterback. You could look at Mark Sanchez and show that he is terrible at times. But he has glimpses of the fact that he won that game after playing as bad as he played. A lot of quarterbacks, and if he was the quarterback that everybody said he would have gone into the tank and not come back and made those plays.
I personally don't question his ability to win a big game. I just question his ability to lead a team over a season. I think in spots, what you saw is a microcosm of him. In spots, he can be very good.
Yeah.
He was like Eli, and he's very. A lot of people compare him to Eli because they're in the same town. Eli was very much like that. Eli could look awful for 3 quarters and be
great. He still is like that.
Yeah, but he's a little more consistent. This series, he's a little more consistent at least. I just don't know.
Look at Eli's stats in their losses; they're not good.
Mark Sanchez bothers me a little more than Eli did at the time because I just feel like Mark Sanchez has a lot of talent, and I feel like maybe it's because the expectations are so high that you criticize him or that you're critiquing him.
Yeah.
I don't know. We have some time here. I have to ask you about this Tim Tebow. My boy Danny Mara was talking to me about this, and it's a very good point. Now, the AFC, the Pro Bowl, you have to get three quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible, and you have to think about it, is it possible that Tim Tebow makes the Pro Bowl? Look who's out there, because everyone's hurt. You're going to have Brady.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna
right. I mean, Schaub's not going to be in there.
You're going to have Big Ben.
Yeah, Phil Rivers has been bad.
Phil Rivers is awful. Schaub's not there. Flacco's awful.
Yeah,
is it possible Tim Tebow, who averages 40 yards a game?
I mean, it's possible, but Andy Dalton's had a much better season than him.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe Andy Dalton. That's
the guy.
You know
what I'm saying?
That's the guy we're gonna watch.
Tim Tebow.
If he goes on a run,
he'll bring Jesus with him. You know that.
We'll go to church together every Sunday.
Yeah, seriously.
When we come back, we are going to
let's talk some Bears.
Let's talk some Thanksgiving football, some other stuff. We'll be back with a Tri-State Sports, guys.